Hi, I'm Anne.
And I'm Paul, and welcome to Out of Plaece, where we speak with the ones who are challenging the status quo, leading from curiosity, doing things a little differently, and above all, have felt out of place somewhere along the way.
We've got real stories, honest lessons, a few laughs, and maybe some tears about business and life from people who've been there, are there, or just getting started.
You are exactly where you need to be. Let's get into it.
So in May 2024, both Paul and I, we pretty much sold up everything, packed up our lives, and embarked on a digital nomad or location independent dream. One that we've both been having and simmering for quite some time, even before we met each other. So I started off my journey going to Vietnam to reconnect with my heritage. Paul went off to Bali, and then we reunited in Vietnam and continued on our travels into Thailand.
So we moved around a little bit and we ended up in Koh Samui. And we kind of just settled there. We've rented a villa out for the whole month, signed up to the gym, signed up to the wellness spaces, even signed up to Muay Thai lessons. And it just abruptly came to a stop,
A screeching stop.
a motorbike accident.
I woke up to the bright lights. It's kind of surreal, right? It's like when you watch an episode of a TV show and you see the person blinking their eyes open and they're seeing the fluorescent lights above them. That's what I saw first. And then I can hear the sounds of the beeping around me and just that commotion that's happening in a hospital that you'd usually hear when you're there, and especially an emergency or a trauma unit. So I kind of started to piece together what was going on, what was happening. But then to my right, I could hear Paul calling my name. And I can hear you just calling my name and going, Anne, where are we? Like, what's going on? And so all the pennies started to drop. And it was a really surreal moment for me of going, well, what the fuck happened? And where are we? I knew where we were, but I just didn't know how we got there.
Yeah. And I mean, after that few seconds of screaming your name, that was me out. I think I was out of consciousness for 4 days. So the time I finally came back round to it, I wake up in this bed and I've got tubes sticking in me. I'm not feeling alive, not feeling human at all. And I just look across my room and then I see you in the bed over there and you've got this big contraption that's on your leg. And, at the time I'd had no idea what happened.
Yeah, and I kind of was in and out of consciousness as well. So during this period of time, I don't know how it happened, but I was able to message my family and let them know what happened in our WhatsApp. Somehow I had consented to surgery as well. I found that I had a broken kneecap, and only really between the two of us, two very quick flash memories of the accident itself. The first one was of the yellow and red of a temple. So we crashed somewhere near or in a temple. And then I think it's kind of a wonder of the body, right? And how the mind, how it blocks out information that you don't need. And so it gave me only like a really hopeful and beautiful moment of two people holding my hand saying, you'll be okay. And that's all I remember of the accident.
And I just remember at one point kind of coming to terms with my injuries as well. Um, and, you mentioned before about, trauma. When you go through trauma, sometimes your brain protects you, so it just switches you off. And it took me a few days after the first 4 days of not really having any consciousness to start figuring out what had happened to my body. And, I'd had a lot of trauma to the top right side of my body. So I was impacted upper body and you were impacted lower body. I think I had multiple broken ribs, broken clavicle, broken shoulder blade. I'd managed to damage my lungs. I had some tube inserted into me to try and protect my lungs and help them heal, which at the time wasn't great because I was stepping into a career as a breathwork coach, and I couldn't even breathe properly.
Yeah, between the two of us, we kind of made a single person.
I was so drowsy, like it was just like walking around or attempting to walk around hunched over in all that pain, and it just felt like I was just not even here because the medication just completely took me out of it.
Well, that's a funny thing because during that first 4 days of cloudiness, for some reason, Paul said no to surgery. And then after the fact, so once we'd been discharged out of hospital, he's like, I think I actually need to have the surgery now. And so we had to return. So we actually went to another hospital. We had to go to hospital. Um, and I was in still the state that I was. I couldn't get up and move around by myself. So I needed to stay with you.
Do you remember when the ambulance picked us up and they literally thought you were the one who was going into hospital? And we get in there, and I think the staff in both of the hospitals were so friendly and did so much for us. Like, whilst yes, it was scary, we were also very fortunate in the access to care that we had.
Yeah, we're definitely in a position where we could afford that. I think that's a really important thing to state. And for anyone who's thinking about doing the digital nomad thing or just traveling for extended periods of time, please get insurance. Please make sure you do that because it does pay off. That was my PSA for the moment. But yeah, with the hospital, they really took care of me. So even though I was not the patient, they looked out for me while you were in the bed and then when you were getting your surgery. So it was such a nice and beautiful moment for both of us to have that care, to have somebody just take care of us, especially in the states that we were in.
To just help with the overwhelm. And you've actually just reminded me of a funny memory. When we were in the second hospital getting ready for my surgery, I'm laying in bed and I'm watching some really trashy movie,
Oh, it was terrible.
just trying not to think about the surgery. Like, I was nervous. Having surgery in a different country, when I'd finally got my consciousness back and I was aware of what was happening, I was terrified, like going under. I've been under surgery before. I'm never really comfortable going under. I'm sure a lot of people aren't. But you, when you got in our room, were put on the kind of sofa bed, and I guess that's where you remained because you couldn't really move from it. So you couldn't come over to my bed, take the remote, and turn off that trashy movie I was watching.
Oh, it was such an awful movie. And I was lying there on, it wasn't even a sofa bed. It's one of those kind of two-person sofas that you find in a hospital room. So it was this uncomfortable seat. And I'm lying there going, I can't even get up and I can't even go over to the bed to turn this shit off.
And when we were back in the UK, like, I didn't really need the hospital support anymore. I did go in for a couple of X-rays and things like that, but you were in and out of the hospital like a yo-yo to begin with. When you were able to start just weight bearing a little bit with your knee, we had the second and third blow.
Yeah. So when I was in Thailand, after the accident, I had a lot of bruising. So pretty much across all my body, and especially my lower body and my legs. And I put it down to just the impact of the accident. I did have this kind of niggling feeling in my hip. And I thought, well, maybe there might just be like a hairline fracture. But I did say to a couple of doctors in Thailand, hey, there's something up with my hip. What do you think it is? And they did some superficial testing, but no one took an x-ray. And they just said, no, you're fine. And even after we went back there to the hospital just before we flew out, I checked again, what do you think this is? And they just said, well, you got significant bruising there. It's probably just that. And it was really not right when I said to you, I think my leg's a bit shorter than the other.
And it happened almost instantly after you started weight bearing. I think it was almost 2 inches.
Yeah.
So I remember, I mean, first of all, there's something I remember about that period in that you'd been sharing with people, like, there's something not right with my hip. And you were even sharing that with me. But my experience of of injury, and like we were saying, everything's fine, get back on with it. And I'm, I'm very used to my body through the sport days. I'm used to the stress that I've put it through. So my kind of responses to you at that time, I don't really ever think you had a place for that to land when you were sharing, there's something wrong with my hip, there's something wrong with my hip, and then the hospital is saying it's fine. So from all different directions, you're feeling a little out of place, right? You're feeling a little unheard. How, looking back on that, because we've spoken about it a lot since in learning how to support each other, looking back on that, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, the biggest thing that came out of that for me and that feeling that I had was being dismissed. I just felt that the hospitals dismissed me. I felt that you did at times. I felt that people I was speaking to were just dismissing me. And because it wasn't this persistent pain, I started to go, well, maybe it's me. So I started to kind of almost in my own head normalize the pain of going, oh, maybe this is just how it is for other people as well. And I shouldn't be concerned about it. And it wasn't until we got to that appointment that I said to you, and when my legs started to get a bit shorter as well, I really need an x-ray. It is time for an x-ray. I really need to get one.
Yeah. We
And
were in that room, right? In the orthopedic asked you to stand up and said, you should be able to walk now. And you started walking, and he was like, I need you to lie on that bed.
now lying there in the x-ray room, it was quite funny because it's this kind of silence in there and they do the x-ray. But then something in me, it kind of just had this sense of there's a panic in the room now. And I kind of just sensed there was something in her voice. There was something really wrong with where my leg was. And then as I'm being wheeled back to the orthopedic, I hear in the distance a voice of another radiologist going, she was walking on that.
I remember when you were still in the x-ray room, they kind of called me in and you mentioned about the kind of panic, that feeling of panic that you felt from around you. And I remember walking into the room and holding your hand and just looking at your face and seeing it in your eyes, just how much you'd already been through. The time frame up until that point was a long time to be navigating injury, being in a different country. Like, we'd been through so much, but physically you'd been through so much. And I just remember that look in your eye, you're just like, why? Like, does it have to, like, really? Like, haven't I felt enough? And that's my interpretation. But just going back to that initial moment for you, where you were in that bed, feeling the panic around you, I come in, I see your eyes. What were you thinking?
I was actually thinking, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here. But like, I think the first thing I thought was like, oh shit, something else, something else. And probably bigger than I had pictured in my head because I thought maybe it's a hairline fracture, maybe it's something small. But the way that they were acting and behaving around me, it was like, okay, this is something really serious. But then the other part of me was like, almost like this vindication of all the times I've been dismissed. It's true. There is something wrong. And it was kind of like, it was a kind of a moment of like, okay, finally we're here. Finally, they're going to realize there's something actually wrong.
You'd been seen,
Yeah.
which is such a huge part of any healing journey, whatever it is from. It's that feeling of being seen.
Yeah. And I think for anyone who's going through this where you know there's something wrong with you, like you know that there's something that physically it doesn't feel right and you've tried so many times, I would just say keep trying, like keep asking the question, keep pushing forward. You know your body better than anybody else. So ask the question, get another opinion, another opinion.
Yeah. There's much more of this journey to share with the accident from both parts, but I know from your side specifically, this isn't where it stopped. There is so much more that is still continuing today, and I think in later episodes we're gonna go into that journey. in how you handled it.
If you found something in today's episode that resonated with you, well, thank you. But also, if you know someone who might need to hear it, then please share it.
Or, of course, we're just starting out. Leaving us a review helps us more than you know. We're so grateful to be building this podcast here alongside you. To learn more and connect with us, head over to our Instagram handle.
And you'll find us at Out of Plaece, place spelt Plaece.
Here's to finding your way, even when it feels a little out of place. We'll see you in the next episode.